What a morning. What a morning.
So
miraculous making faces at people. What's going on with you there?
I don't know. I'm on camera, bro. It's amazing.
It's amazing what technology is.
Yes, it's amazing what technology can do.
Teaching me new things there. We're just waiting for you to start teaching because you said you used to be a teacher.
I used to be a teacher.
So start teaching.
Start teaching? Alright, 1 plus 1.
I guess that's a good place to start, right?
Yeah, you have to start from
way past that.
Alright, what is the square root of 144?
You're really good at that.
What's it?
Emotions and feelings.
Oh, no. That's the square root of women.
Oh, gosh. You always have to go back to that. Always go back to women. Why do you bash women?
I don't bash women. I mean, I bash women, you know. But I don't bash women.
Good morning to Charlie. Good morning to all the folks on board this bus right now. That's on the top of town. Maybe just headed back into the village. Good morning, Harry. Got the guys, the 5D drivers, man. Good morning to you guys. Goes to the drivers, good morning. We got the viewpoint drivers that's coming out of the canneries. Good morning to canneries.
Drivers, pick up yourself.
The valley drivers, yes. First, I first pick up myself. That's the driver from Denver.
You know everybody.
What driver do you know?
You know everybody.
Call the one by myself. Good morning to you. Yeah,
you know everybody.
Only there on the Dr. bus stand. Sold Mr. Pink. All the guys. Bus drivers are important today. I have these guys. I have a lot of respect for these guys.
It's true.
Majority of them, large majority of them, they actually put themselves on the line for us all the time.
Like somebody said in that interview long ago, they are life carriers.
True.
You understand?
Every time you get on board a bus, these guys have no life.
Yeah.
You have to have respect for those people.
So big up good drivers who actually consider.
And the ones who have the buses that they don't take the buses and repair them and service them.
They should. Let me tell you. Is it when I reach on a bus stop and I see a bus loading, bro? The first thing I look at is the tires. I ain't letting no bus driver drive me ball tires.
No ball tires.
None. Zero.
I got on the bus the other day and I must tell you, the experience was horrible. And I couldn't, understand why a bus in such deplorable condition
Is legally
allowed to carry people, passengers.
Was it a Creole one?
I mean, the seats, you couldn't sit comfortable in the seats because they were welded so many different times and so many places. They changed, position. The door itself was falling off. The driver had to come down from the bus a couple of times and close the door. Because only him alone close his door. Alright? The first day we had the unveiling of the monument in Road, I got on a bus. The bus. I goes to the bus. Decided that it was going to come out through by the grocery stand in front of the banana hill, cut through. And just the corner, the corner of the hill by the American, by the Methodist
I would say.
By the tennis court.
Yeah, that's Methodist.
The bus couldn't go up that hill. Made several attempts to go up the hill. The bus couldn't go. Didn't stop. Rolling. The traffic is building behind you guys. Remember, the entire city is congested.
Yeah. Oh my.
He tries to go up, he tries to go up. He had to come back, turn around, and go down through by Davies there. And come on the chaussee and go Blackberry.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Them things should be.
I'm not saying that every once in a while on duty, something's not going to go wrong with your bus.
That's technology,
right?
It will go wrong.
But to me, that just looks like a driver who
is negligent.
They're making the money, they're keeping all the money in their pockets or putting the money in whatever bank they're using.
There's a particular bank.
Whatever bank they're using.
I like as we are
the same way with bread. Right. To me, that's your bread. That's how you make your money.
That's
the same as a carpenter or mason. After he finishes his mortar for the day, he just throws his tools in a bag without cleaning them.
Exactly. And the part about that baffles me the most, I'm going to say baffled, I'm confuzzled, you understand, is that you expect to make money, but don't take care of your money maker.
Yeah. And the thing about some of these drivers, they're the most ignorant.
Oh my God.
Drivers out there.
That's madness. That's madness.
And I'm not knocking anyone. At the end of the day, you have to have pride in what you do. Even if you're not enjoying it,
I remember when I was going to school, right? I'm not saying what secondary school I went to, because people don't know what bus stand and what bus driver.
Right.
But if you know, you know. You understand? So this is a particular driver. You say they met me new one. I don't think that any bus driver that was more ignorant than that man. You understand? And it right, there was an incident that happened, and a student was like, I never board in mid-bus again, under his breath. He went into the man, my youth, I never asked you to board my bus in the first place. I watched that. A
lot of drivers, unfortunately, a lot of drivers are very mean. I actually saw a driver turn a child away the other day.
Yeah, but they don't understand. Them children growing.
Take the next bus.
Them children growing up. You understand?
I would like to see the people that are supposed to be policing some of the bus drivers. They're guys. I mean, you get on some buses. There's a bus I got on the other day, and when the bus was done loading and the driver closed his door, he turned around. He said, "Good morning to all. Welcome on board."
Yeah.
And there's so many drivers out there like that.
They are good drivers. They are amazing drivers.
I was going to
amazing people who drive.
I was going to view for one time, and I got on the bus, and as the bus finished load and the driver was pulling out of the peg, he said, "Good afternoon, folks. This is so and so. Welcome on board my bus. It will be approximately 45 minutes before we get to whatever time it took before we get to Viewfort. I encourage you to sit back, relax, and just enjoy the ride."
Yeah, man.
I mean, with that being said, you can just kick back, relax.
You really
but
can.
There's some drivers that, boy, I tell you, you don't even, they get on the peg, and you think twice whether or not you should board the bus. When you're late for work already.
They're nasty,
You get on board.
Nasty attitude.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Not all of them should be where they are.
And that's the point I want to make of the school cheering, right? Like, for example, there are bus drivers' buses that I refuse to board up to a day like today because they treated me a certain way as a kid. And they fail to realize that them same children grew up. And they remember those things,
Of course you do.
We remember it. And then, they'll watch and be like, oh, Crown style. No, you're an idiot. That's why I ain't boarding your bus. You understand? You have no respect for people.
And you hear that all the time on the bus stands, especially the grocery use. You hear people, you're standing there and a bus pulls up on the peg, and people are like, you hear people saying they're not boarding that bus. Have no, But anyways, I love my bus drivers.
Yeah, man.
I have a lot of respect for the trade.
One of my best friends is a bus driver, so.
I have a lot of respect for the trade. There are some drivers out there who go out of their way to make sure that the passengers are always comfortable.
Always.
And kudos to these guys. Big up yourselves. Have yourself a wonderful day today. Enough love to all the bus drivers.
All of them. The whole of them.
In everything, there's good. And there's a lot of good and a little bit of bad in between. So, guys,
there's good. And then there's a little bit of horrible.
Clean up your app because you are providing a service, a public service.
Public
service.
And Biv.
Some of them.
Yeah.
They
really do it, Biv.
Take care of the bus and themselves.
Yeah. That's crazy.
All right. So, oh boy. It is just about 5 minutes after the hour, and of course we're back. We're going to be talking about our Junior Creole experience yesterday.
Yes.
So you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
No. I want you to go first.
Aye.
So what about the festivities that that really opened up?
Okay. First of all, I love our big Creole days, and not just in St. Lucia, in the French. How can I put it? French-influenced islands. I wouldn't say French.
Before we go any further, let me just acknowledge something really quick. Outside of Junior Creole, yesterday St. Vincent celebrated its 40th
Independence
anniversary of independence. So big up to all the Vincies tuned in.
Big up yourself, Asylum.
Yes, and of course to the nation from us here. Enough love to you.
Yeah.
Keep on climbing. Yeah?
All right. Yeah.
So let's go back.
So big up, right? Dominica celebrated Creole also with the culmination of their World Music Festival. World Creole Music Festival.
Yeah.
Right. Fun fact, although there's less Creole music in that festival than anything, it has just turned to another music festival. I mean, have the likes of Davido, Dexter Daps. I mean, I'm not hating it, granted, but I ain't Creole. Right. That's the fact. The fact of it is that's not Creole.
Right.
So that's cool.
And I want you to stick on that. I want you to keep that in mind because I'll come back to that.
Yeah, no, I'm coming back to it. Right. Now, the magic of Creole, for me, and by definition, is the mixture of cultures. Right? Because as you know, Creole as a language is the makeup of 2 or 3 languages.
Right.
Which is because they have the Portuguese Creole with all of their things, and then there's us who have a French-based Creole, which is based on African, French, and the English.
Right.
Right? That is what Creole is by definition. That mix of cultures. Again, I like how big Creole has become in terms of the amount of effort that people individuals put into their celebration. Right. Be it the outfits, people would plan their outfits months in advance, buy the cloth and all of that, right? Yeah. Granted that the cloth, the pattern, the design
has changed
and is changing. And
is it an evolution or is it just that everybody wants to be different or unique in their own way?
I don't know, but the thing is, right, I believe I believe, and that's where we'll disagree today, and I love the fact that we're going to disagree today.
We are going to disagree today.
That this is the magic of Creole. Because the truth is, right, like that's why I said that Creole is a mix of cultures. So I see people make a fuss over the African print, right? And really and truly talk about, it's supposed to be Madras, and Madras is actually of Indian descent,
right?
Which is far from French Creole as possible, right? By the very makeup of what Creole was back in those times, it's flowery prints. You understand? But you don't find that much no more. Everybody
the Madras has now become the staple. But could it be that when in terms of patterns and because the Indians have always been known to be traders, they've traveled the world even in the turn of the century or centuries. They have been predominantly in the forefront, especially where fabric is concerned.
Right now,
so could it be that was because the Madras was more available?
And again, that's why I want to highlight the beauty of what Creole defines, because the truth is, what is our culture here in St. Lucia?
And that is the question that I feel, and this is my view, that having Creole Heritage Month culminating with the Creole Day,
right?
Having people bring foreign ideas and foreign way of doing things into it.
Define foreign.
Kills
foreign. Because let's
heritage.
Pause. Let's go back. Let me finish. Yeah. Let's go back to what I said. The definition of Creole is. I think that's very significant in the discussion going forward.
All right.
Right. The mix of cultures, which is why I then ask you.
Okay. The mix of cultures. From a certain era, from a certain point, not from here going forward, because it wouldn't be heritage if you were talking present into future.
Okay,
so you're going back.
We're talking about heritage,
right?
Now, I'm talking about Creole as an entity itself.
But you see, the thing is, you can't talk Creole as an entity itself unless you say heritage.
Well, we should rebrand it,
And that's what it's called.
Because at the end of the day,
Heritage Month. So it's Creole Heritage Month.
Right, but then it's Creole Day.
Right.
It's not Creole Heritage Day.
No, but you see, the thing is, if it's Creole Heritage Month, it culminates with the day. It has to be Creole Heritage.
All right. Okay, cool.
Heritage Day.
I'm going to take that point. However, I believe my young bones are forward thinking.
And I think that is what is it. Right? That's the difference right here.
My young bones are forward thinking in such that
the older people, and this is where I see exactly where you're going, and I know why you're going there because of your age. Yeah. You're youngin'.
Yeah.
And you want to associate your past, your country's past, with what you're comfortable with today.
Now
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing.
The dangers of that is
we'll lose our identity.
And
again, that's why I ask you, what is St. Lucian culture? Because the truth is, right, it is really an amalgamation of a lot of things.
True.
Because we have Indian descent, we have African descent, we have European descent, and it is an amalgamation of all that.
And that's what it is, right? But what I'm saying is there, right? And as time goes by, there's going to be more woven into that cloth. It's almost like you know when your grandmother started knitting.
Yes.
She and
she ran out of thread.
Right.
And she take a next thread.
And she come in. And that's what happens every generation. A different set of history is put on the books. Right.
Now, that I cannot agree with.
But I almost guarantee you that you don't have any kids yet. No.
That I know of.
Right. You don't have any kids. I almost guarantee you that 20, 30 years from now, my kids and your kids are going to be having the same discourse.
Yeah.
About what is accepted in that in that, because we've been through so much. The Caribbean has been through so much.
And St. Lucia as a country, especially
7 times British, 7 times French. And every time there's a new regime or a new leadership, but even without politics, things change.
And by the definition of that is where the Creole came from in the first place.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. With every situation, there's good and there's bad to it.
Yes.
Because some people who will applaud a decision and applaud a movement, there are other people who would frown upon.
Yes.
So differences of opinion. Here's the thing, right? As a people grow, certain things that you have accepted into your culture,
yes,
not everyone will be okay with it.
When you say everyone, you mean in the country?
In the country, or within that.
But here's my question, Asylum. Here's my question: what is the core? You understand? Because at the end of the day, right?
That's the thing, and that's why places like the Folk Research Center, right?
Cultural
development, and the old folks.
Yeah.
The old folks.
In general.
You know, I cannot believe, for the likes of me, that there are people here who's over 100 years old, who still, can bring themselves back in terms of memory. And we don't sit down with these people and write down everything they know.
Now,
it's only when we want a little fame because that one celebrated 105, let us go and make sure that we cover the story, even for media.
I agree with you.
Sit to these people because these people are an encyclopedia of this country.
I agree with you. Now listen to me. The point I'm making is that with that core of what Creole is, traditional core, the core, the constant, you understand? Then we could make Creole its definition in terms of the mixture of cultures. Because guess what, right? Those people back in the day. Now you see, the thing is, right? There's this notion nationally, this unspoken notion that Creole is poverty. You understand? Because if you look at it, right,
it's grassroots. It's grassroots way of living.
Exactly. So, for example, you know the ways of cooking, the ways of ironing. That's how a lot of poor people do it, even up to this today. Right. So a lot of people believe that is what Creole is.
But you see, the thing is too, you have to be careful how you say that, because to me, I mean, if you were to go back into our early ancestry, right, the way we did things as the people of the land,
yes,
as opposed to the people who own the plantations and everything else, it was different.
I agree.
When Master's shirt was ironed with a proper or the state of the art iron of the day, we had to compromise.
Now
I had a piece of old iron that he threw out.
It's true. Now, Asylum, I agree with you, and I agree with you. However, we don't live in those times no more.
No. But you see, not living those times and those times being a part of our roots.
I'm not saying no. I agree with that completely.
My argument is straightforward. I believe that we're grasping too much of the present and future as our culture. It's not time for it. Culture is something that you have to kind of weave itself into a society, into a people.
Now, again,
right?
that's why I say that I agree with you to a certain extent.
So I can't watch now the African prince becoming, more and more prevalent every year.
When you say becoming, it's not a matter of becoming.
It is. Even if because we are from African descendants, African roots. If some people might argue, well, but that is a part of our motherland.
It is part of our culture, eh?
But here's the thing, right? We are talking about the culture of Saint Lucia, from the birth of this country, or when we consider ourselves a people. The things that make us who we are today.
I agree with that, and that's why I believe the core should be taught.
Because
it's in its most natural form.
The same African prince that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that came from Europe.
Well, I mean, technically, a lot of them came from Europe.
All right.
So
there we go.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Madras came from Europe through Indians.
Through Indians.
You understand?
So these are things that we have to be careful of, right? Somebody gave me a joke on the weekend. An African approached an Indian, and he said, "Let us start a business. Come with me and let us plant cotton." The Indian said, "No. You plant the cotton, and I'll make the cloth from the cotton." So, I mean, again, these things. That's how we live. We have to be careful how we embrace, especially new things.
Now, okay,
and that we were trying to incorporate into culture.
Now, here's the thing.
Because, like you rightfully said, let's take Dominica for instance. You said it earlier.
Yeah.
That the Creole Heritage Month there, it culminated with a lot of foreign acts. There's no Creole music and everything else, and again, the younger people embraced the Dexter Daps or whoever was there. Davido. And they embraced that.
Bantan.
Right. They embraced that.
Reggae.
Right? What is that doing? That is steering their culture off into a different direction.
Yeah, now again.
Are we doing the same thing?
I agree with you,
Yeah, we're doing the same thing.
I agree with you.
You
understand? In terms of, I believe that the core should be taught.
Yeah.
I believe that people should know really and truly what Creole means, what it represents, and what is Creole. Like, for example, that's why I tell you that one of the highlights of my Creole Day last year was actually playing with the solo band.
Yeah.
Because that again is deeply part of our African culture. That is not French. Because French is European, right? And Creole is based off of French. So basically, are we saying that we should subscribe more to the French influence?
No, I don't think so.
Listen, let me go on, right? So again, it brings me back to that mix of cultures. Right. Because Creole, by definition, is a mix of French, English, and African. So the ways of life that we adopted back in the day were heavily African. Right. However, since the French was dominant, we adapt everything so that we could create the language. Now, I'm not talking about Creole, the language. I'm talking about Creole, the way of life. It is heavily African based. Look at the drums. Look at the way way that we go about. It's heavily African based. So then the Indians came and they brought Madras. Because listen, I am very how can I put it? I am very Indian based. Because my grandmother was literally from Calcutta. My grandmother's mother was from Calcutta. She was born.
That's why you have a little.
Let me tell you something. I could sound like an Indian anytime.
But you know what we can do. We can do it.
I mean, let me go on, right? So, as a result, are you telling me that I'm wrong for embracing my Indian culture into my Creole? Because at the end of the day, and I tell you, that's the magic of Creole. The fact that people could come from different walks of life, different eras, different ethnicities.
It's the magic of any country, as a matter of fact. I mean, any country's culture is.
We're talking about Creole.
Yeah, well,
you understand?
The thing is,
Creole.
The thing is there's basically no culture today that can say that this is the way it started and this is the way it is today. Things change.
Exactly.
And as you experience, as a country experience different phases.
Exactly. And the people, the young, the generations grow.
Then it changes.
Yeah.
Because believe me, And even Harris and I, we talked about it yesterday, the face painting and with the kids and all that.
That's 10 years from now, is not our culture.
10 years from now, people are not going to even be having that conversation.
Yeah.
Because it will slowly weave itself into the culture.
Right. Now,
and that's what it is.
Which is why I tell you the core should be taught. The core of what our culture is in terms of, all right, we are a mix of mainly African, with influences of European, Indian, and Chinese.
What my argument is, right, is that I think that more emphasis should be based on teaching our youths about yesteryear.
But that's the base, the
core.
core.
That is my argument.
Yeah,
that's my argument. I was at Bois Séjour yesterday, and I didn't see, like nothing to stimulate the youth.
Now here's the thing, right?
It was just food and some bands on stage.
Right, now here's what made Creole group activities. Now that is what we need to start teaching the people. The power of working together. Like for example, one simple activity, right? The wood cutting. 2 man on one saw. One at the top, one at the bottom. So it's more, I believe Creole has more to do with the way of life than the language itself.
Right.
Like for example, back in the day, when them women washing clothes, it's a set of women. When them women cooking, is like one doing this and next one doing that and next one doing that. And at the end of the day, everybody sit around and they eat and they tell stories.
Togetherness, yes.
Now, that is why I say the core need to be taught. Now, if we go into if we have to talk about again, I'm trying to understand your point, because I understand your point in terms of back in the day what it was like. Things were more, the technology now is different, and we cannot run away from that. It is very different. Back in the day, y'all didn't have no phone, bro. Y'all didn't have no internet. So for y'all,
even that, stick a pin. I saw a couple of people making Creole bread.
Yeah.
With the old 45-gallon drums.
That
was not the way it was done then.
So you go bring a whole stone oven there?
What I'm saying. So even for the things that everybody's rushing for this Creole, to me, yes, it's homemade bread, fresh homemade bread.
And again, Asylum,
if you want to say Creole,
it bringing me back to my point, right? Disregard the fact that it's a drum, right? Because in reality, ain't nobody about to make a stone oven there, right? The fact that a group of people could come together and knead that dough, and get the wood and put it on that thing, that for me is Creole. That is the togetherness, that is the culture of working together. And that's the thing, because back in the day, slaves worked together. Whether it's to rebel or to do, they worked together. And that was the thing, because they understood that there was power in strength. Unity. And there was strength in unity.
Right.
That's what, that's what I meant. And for me, that is what our culture is.
Point taken.
Not the fact that I could...
Even the way there is children in those days.
Yeah, exactly. They teach children to be selfish.
And we were raised in a community.
Yeah.
If 3 women in one family had children, one would stay at home.
Exactly. Everybody's everybody's mother.
And the others would go out in the garden or whatever.
Yo,
and then
how many people you grew up calling auntie that you're not related to?
Exactly, everybody.
You understand?
I still call Uncle Charlo.
And that's the thing. Yeah. That is the point that I want to bring across where our culture is concerned. We should teach the core, which is that our culture is African based, and African is very united in that front in terms of it's fighting against the influence of the outside people and maintaining your identity as black people, right? It's true we have European influence. We cannot run away from that because of the history of our country.
Right.
We need to teach that core. Whether we do it, whether we and the thing is, it's like now children don't know what it is, and that is what we should teach. That we should take the devices away.
That's why I said that. More emphasis has to be placed. More emphasis have to be placed, especially where the youth are concerned, in teaching them the ways of yesterday. Because look at it this way, right? Me as an individual, as a child growing up, right? My children have not experienced any of my childhood. They don't play marbles. Torpedo don't know how to make. We used to make Cats,
ZZ. Oh, remember last time we were asking Drills don't know half of them things, you know.
So, that being said,
Drills,
we
you
as parents...
You ever leave your home at 7 o'clock in the morning and come back at 4 o'clock smelling like a bird? Because whole day you eating mango. You come back with a little bottle of crayfish, and that was your day. And them time there, your parents were not, as much as parents were concerned,
they were not worried.
They were not worried
about where the
because at the end of the day, they know you were occupied. I mean, yes, you'd get into little trouble. You're going to in Mr. Jones' nuts tree and thief onto nuts, and Mr. Jones will be like, Ishwa. But it was a more innocent kind of fun, rather than now what children just want to do malicious acts. You understand? And again, we need to teach them that it's okay to step away from the devices.
That is one of the biggest
and going forward asylum
battles that parents have lost.
It's already so hard to move them on the devices. How can we use those same devices to teach them the core?
True.
Because again,
you meet them where they are.
Exactly. The technology back then was different, bro. We cannot run away from that. Because at the end of the day, we didn't have TV. You know what we had? We had stories from our grandparents.
And when full moon, we sit and we talk.
Exactly. We talk about things. Yo, like my grandfather gave us stories about, him when he had his horses. And even more recently, when my grandfather passed away. Right? We sat there and my aunt was giving stories about my grandfather. My mother gave her versions of my grandfather. I gave my own stories of my grandfather growing up. Right. And the family was just there laughing and everybody was... I mean, for a moment, we forgot that he was dead. We were celebrating his life rather than the fact that he's gone. You understand? But now... And that is why you said the word heritage. And I understand you. Don't get me wrong. I feel you, bro. I feel you. And I want people to know and learn our heritage. But we have to do it more effectively and more creatively. Sure. That's why I tell you, I appreciate the fact that people put their individual efforts into their Creole. You understand? Yeah. That's respectable. But then we as a country, what are we doing?
Yeah, like I said, I think that just merely organizing the permits and setting up the infrastructure and hiring the bands,
that's part one.
It's not enough. I think that
you understand?
I think that I would have loved to see more happen.
Exactly.
I would have loved to see sort of a trip down memory lane and not just down my memory lane, not down a couple generations memory lane. I didn't see any of that. It was a big party. That's all I saw.
Just food and dressing.
Big party. It was just a big party. A big party that seemed to have a dress code. That's what it seemed like to me for the entire island.
And you see, again, that's the thing, right? What should be happening, right? You have a mix of it because again, we have to embrace that times have changed. So if you want to have the big acts and the big party, that's cool. Yeah. But in the day or earlier, you really and truly go deep. You go deep into it. You go deep into it. You understand? And at the end of the day, you have to make it such that it'll just catch the eye of people. And a lot of those acts happen.
Not even catch the eye, but have some real significance.
No, but not just that. Listen to the point I'm making, right? A lot of those things, right? You see people there, and then, like, for example, you'll see the two men saw in the wood, and you'll just stand up there like, people need to try it. Yeah. Bring some of them like, yo, you want to try that? You understand?
As easy as you think it is.
And again, boy, you see solo. That is the magic of solo. I like solo, I love solo. Apart from the fact that I love music, I love solo. I love the fact that a group of men who probably don't know each other, I mean, obviously. But like last night, I didn't know the fellas from anywhere. I had no idea who the fellas are. Right. So we came there. And boom, we just gel. And the guy, he's excited and...
You create something out of nothing.
Exactly. That is the culture of Creole.
Yeah. All right, just about 9:30 in St. Lucia and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. And of course, we're just doing I don't know if it's a synopsis, but...
I think it's a more of our expectations of what Creole should be and recommendations.
And the thing is, here's the thing. We have visitors.
Yeah.
One might say, okay, well, Buju Banton was in Dominica. Why didn't I go to Dominica instead of staying in
And as a matter of fact, a lot of St. Lucians were in Dominica.
Yeah, a lot.
A great deal.
A great deal.
And I don't know why.
I don't know.
I don't understand why they feel the need to celebrate Creole in Dominica.
Because I get the feeling that a lot of people are not really feeling the significance
of Creole
Heritage Month.
And that's the thing. They're going to Dominica
just to experience
a music festival.
Yeah,
a music festival.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not authentically Creole now, is it?
Exactly. So
they sell it off as that.
Yeah.
But probably they did have 1-2 Creole bands, don't get me wrong. Probably have the WCK and them. But then authentically, based on the headliners.
It was non
And as a matter of fact, are there any major, aside from Midnight Groovers, who I did not grow up with, Creole bands? And aside from T-Vice from Haiti, are there any Creole bands? And Kassav not Creole, Kassav is French. So are there any Creole bands?
All right, let's take a break.
Yeah, we're taking a music break.
And we'll vibes a bit more.
Yeah.
Of course, it's just about 9:30 in St. Lucia and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. You inside the Breakfast Fete, yours truly, Sam, alongside
Miraculous and DJ Drills.
Back after that.
Boom.
So your lover control me so long. Your lover control me so. In time you will inspire me. Like wine you touch all over me. So your lover control me so long. Your lover control. I don't want you go home tonight. I don't want you go home tomorrow. Save for the rest of my life. Cause baby I don't want no other. Cause nothing can compare to this wine you give to me. I need it every day. Time of my life, best time of my life, best time of hey. Hold me with me, neighbor, you give me the best wine of my life, best wine of questions, girl, put your hand on your knees. Why you, baby? Oh, please. Woman, you don't know what you're doing to me. No questions, girl, push it back slowly. Girl, I'm ready. Oh, please, yeah. Give me wine, give me that, give me wine, oh yeah, oh yeah. Give me wine, give me that, give me wine, oh yeah. Could it be you and me, yeah? So much potential.
Under all the love you get, it's not the ones who love to hate. And under all who keep it real, it's not the ones who love to fake. This love on is fake, I say. Not everyone is your friend, your friend, your friend. So be careful of the ones who don't want to see you elevate. But be thankful for the ones who show you love, appreciate. This love on is fake, I say. Not everyone is your friend, your friend. No way. So when me look on me, tell them some love, some not fake, some real and some not fake. Show love, I don't come my way. Tell them go away, go away. Some love, some not fake, some real and some not fake. Show love, I don't come my way. Love, no, go away, go away. Some wanna take it from you when you get too much. Oh, yeah. They want to see you go
And you make me feel like heat. Don't need to touch. You know what me now go miss a beat. And we can't cool down 'cause the heat too strong. Because we blazing in love. Blaze, we blazing in love. Keep blazing, blaze, we blazing in love. Blaze, we blazing in love. Keep blazing. Get fire, let me blaze in love. Get fire, let me keep on blazing. Get fire, let me blaze in love. Bust the glass up with the sweat. Pressure gone, my love body. Fire alarm in your arm, protect me from all these well wishers who don't wish well. All have I been here? All have I been here? From the start till they do its part, them can destroy we. One here no you're up under ocean. You turn still picture in a motion. Fireman can't reach because your heat too high. Dry up the earth and you make clouds cry. Cash paradise can't measure how your back's up. Specialists can't see how your hands up. You can decide for the eyes where you reach down. It's a pleasant kind of love, and you make me feel like heat. Don't need to touch, but I got my eyes on you now and me now go miss a beat. And we can't cool down 'cause the heat too strong.